Hi, everybody. It's Jenna coming from the honoring where I think daylight savings time's got everybody. But I just wanted to come on here for a second and talk about the theme of the week, Pratyabijna, which is specifically related to the mechanism for waking up or recognition within Shaivism. So I have some reading first. This comes from a really decent little book. I highly recommend it, the Reality Sutras. There's several translations and takes on this. This one happens to be from Shambhavi Saraswati. So to her, Pratyabijna means to recognize your real nature or the nature of reality. Recognizing your real nature does not mean to discover something for the first time. You are actually rediscovering or remembering. And so it's that idea that, like, I want to really point out today, at least in a short form. If this is a philosophical bent that you are interested in, the core ask of this work is that you become aware of the possibility that you are bigger, and I mean literally like your existence is bigger than the individual expression of what you're experiencing. And I don't mean that in sort of like the reductive sort of new age way. I mean quite literally that you are simply a mechanism of the existing universe for it to become aware of itself. So there's nothing that separates you from the universe that you came from, and there's nothing that will separate you after. One of the teachers I study with often talks about this in the terms of there's only one life on this planet, and it is the single beating breath of life of all things. And so it takes a lot of like remembering and re-engaging and reconnecting in order to see yourself as not your own minute experience or the fluctuations of your own mind, but rather that you are the same as everything around you. And it's not, sameness is almost like too simple. Sameness would imply that there's nothing that differentiates you. Like, obviously you're a different way for the universe to express itself. But the core idea is that you remember that you are not fundamentally separate, that nothing you're experiencing is fundamentally separate. And no matter what you're experiencing, it's all been experienced before, and it's all intended to be part of the universe around you. It can be a very unifying feeling, right? This is actually a very, very simple practice. But the hardest part of it is to get out of the lower level fluctuations of the mind or your experience that keeps you from seeing that. So there's so many times that we feel separated from one another or separated from the experience, or you feel because you aren't maybe deeply aware of like how you fit in, that nothing that's happening to you has ever been experienced before, or that it has no relevance, or like everything is simply, you know, pain or suffering or all of these things that we get stuck into. And the reality is it's simply a mechanism for you to take that experience, work with it to orient yourself to the idea that you are part of a single existence. It's never a perfect practice for anyone. I don't think anyone who does even like daily sadhana is like, oh, this is super easy. This is like no big deal. It takes a lot of discipline. You would think something with fewer rules would be easier, but it's not. It's actually quite a bit harder. And the trap is always, anytime you get stuck in your own mind space or your own smaller experience, how can you use this as a mechanism to see yourself as a greater whole? So that would be my challenge for you today, my loyal folks that still signed in. I guess if you have any questions, you could send questions here on Facebook. But in general, that's the idea of Pratyabijna. I had a little bit more. I had a little exercise we were going to do with some meditation, but I offer to you consider places where you are feeling separate or not connected. And I don't mean like with individual people, I mean with the whole experience as a total thing, and how maybe you can become more connected. Usually, spoiler, it's like do something that makes you feel engaged. You can chant, you can meditate, you can do asana, you can do any number of things to connect with that bigger piece of yourself and the world around you. So that's Pratyabijna. I hope y'all have a good Monday. I think the daylight savings time journey got everybody, but I will be back here next week, 7:15, the honoring. There's still time to make competitive napping if that's of interest to you, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.